Well, guys, this is it. Turns out I was wrong. This really is the end of Smash Bros. DLC. We got the Smash final broadcast. We know who the remaining characters are. The hype train has reached its last stop. We're at the sun. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm feeling just a little bit empty inside. But it's not because of what was shown. Really, it's not. I'm mainly just feeling a little down because just knowing that this is the end. Because we've been riding this hype train for over a year now. We've been so excited. It's had its ups and downs, its high points and low points, and it's really just kind of depressing to realize that this is it. There aren't going to be any more trailers. There aren't going to be any more character reveals. This is it. So it just kind of feels like it's the end of something special, and it's almost kind of hard to just go back to the time before any of this came into our lives. So for me at least, it's feeling a little bit bittersweet knowing it's all over. And it certainly doesn't help that the content of the final presentation was a little bit polarizing for a lot of people. For me personally, I'm okay with what they showed. If I complain at all, it's really not that big of a deal. I wasn't that upset by anything. I'm just, if I sound kind of down, it's mostly because I'm a little depressed because it's over. Because you guys know how much I love Smash Brothers and how excited I have been this entire time. It's been, uh, in the spotlight. And just knowing that it's kind of over and it's time to kind of move on from it a little bit it's a little bit heartbreaking. But we knew this time would come eventually, but I knew I was never going to be ready for it. So maybe I'll just have to put Smash away for a little bit, play another game, and then come back to it when I feel, like I'm craving to play Smash again. But we'll get to that. We'll get to the sentimental feelings about all of this towards the end. But let's start off with talking about the presentation itself. So the first character they showed was Corran, and I know pretty much nothing about him. Apparently, he's from the new Fire Emblem that's coming out on 3DS. Apparently, it's been out in Japan for a while now, but it hasn't come out anywhere else in any other territories yet. So, while the Japanese while the Japanese Smash Brothers fans might be really excited that he's in because they know who this character is, we're all just kind of sitting here thinking, who the hell is this guy and why is he here now? At least, look, the main problem I have with Corran is that he's another Fire Emblem character. That is really my biggest complaint. I feel like we don't need any more Fire Emblem characters. Sure, Fire Emblem has been around for a long time in Japan. If it wasn't for Fire Emblem Awakening, there probably wouldn't be any more Fire Emblem games here in the US, so I understand that Fire Emblem became really popular over here after Awakening, but it's kind of the same thing with Kid Icarus Uprising. I don't feel like after just one good game that we suddenly need to flood Smash Brothers with all the characters and all the music and stages and this and that and just make it like Fire Emblem centric or make it Kid Icarus centric or just whatever. I'm fine with the fact that Corran looks like he plays like a really unique character. It looks like he has a really unique moveset. I'm sure he's going to be a lot of fun. He looks a little OP to me. He looks a little bit broken, and the fact that you can pin players down and then follow up combos that way looks a little worrying. But this is a trailer. This is kind of a showcase. It's supposed to make the character look really good and look really powerful and stuff. So I'm kind of letting that slide. I'm sure in reality he isn't going to be that much of a pain to deal with. I'm sure he's going to be pretty balanced. But that's just my biggest complaint. It's just aesthetically, I feel like we have too many Fire Emblem characters. I felt like we were starting to push it when we got Roy. I feel like the only reason Roy was justified to come back was because he was a requested character from Melee. Because people loved him in Melee and they requested for him to come back. And so then Sakurai decided to throw us a bone and bring him back. But I feel like if he hadn't been in Melee, then obviously he probably would not have been a DLC character. And it just feels like at this point, it just seems kind of weird to me that Fire Emblem has as many characters as Pokemon and almost as many as Mario. And it's just I don't know. I'm trying not to downplay Fire Emblem because I know it has a lot of fans, and I know there are probably a lot of people who are excited for Corran, and I'm not trying to say that, oh, your excitement is unjustified or anything. It's just, I don't know. I was expecting something more than another Fire Emblem character. Getting another Fire Emblem character was literally the last thing I expected. I expected Steve from Minecraft before getting another Fire Emblem character. So I was really, really kind of underwhelmed that we're getting another Fire Emblem character. But in the end, it really doesn't matter because I'm sure he's going to be fun to play as, and he's DLC. So if I don't want him, I don't have to get him. And sad to say, but I might actually not get him because he just seems really forgettable to me. Like, this is really petty, but even just looking at his design just really does nothing for me. Like, his face and just the hair, the fact that his hair is gray, just, he looks like Robin to me a little bit. And his outfit just does nothing for me. I don't know why. There's just something weird about his design. I just doesn't really stick with me. So again, I'm not trying to just find things to complain about with this character. I'm just saying that for me personally, this character really does nothing. He seems really forgettable to me. His spot in the roster seems really forgettable. I really don't understand why he was put in. I know some people say, well, some people have been claiming that he was put in because Sakurai wanted to put him in, because this is a character Sakurai wanted to work on. And I'm a little confused by that, because if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure Sakurai said at one point that the remaining characters for DLC were going to be ones that were fan requested, or ones that had a lot of fan service to them. And I just never really saw the requests or the fan service for Corran, for another Fire Emblem character. So something's not right here. Either it's true and Sakurai put this character in because he wanted to put him in, or I don't even know what else. Just Corran's confusion confuses me more than anything else. You know, if I could just forget about, if I could just accept that there's another Fire Emblem character, then anything else, it just confuses me why they put him in. I feel like if we wanted to do another character from one of the represented franchises, they could have literally done anything else besides Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem got a lot of love this time around, and I just don't see why they needed to give it that much more with Corran's inclusion. But like I said, if you are excited for Corran, more power to you. Buy him. I hope you enjoy him. I'm still on the fence about whether or not I'm going to get him, because even though his moveset looks really unique, I just don't know how I feel about him. I just don't know if I really agree with his inclusion. I accept that he's here. I just don't know if I really agree with including him. So, even just, you know, promoting the new Fire Emblem game. I get it. You want to promote your upcoming games, but what about I hate to, you know, kind of sound like one of those people complaining about they didn't get their character, but what about Inklings? You know, you could have just as easily put them in to promote Splatoon. So I don't see why they would pick Fire Emblem Fates over Splatoon when Splatoon has already proven to be popular worldwide. But you know, I'm not trying to make this Inklings versus Corran thing. So yeah, that's just how I feel about Corran. I think a lot of people are really mixed about him. A lot of people are really salty about him. I'm more indifferent than anything else. I don't really agree with his inclusion, but I accept that he's here. And you know, if when he comes out in February, if I just decide that I don't want him, then I just won't get him. So that's just really how it is. Then we got some Mii costumes. And this was a really interesting batch because we got a lot of the littler characters that people were talking about and were kind of wanting, and then they got really upset when they got confirmed as assist trophies. Like, we got Takamaru. I remember there was a lot of hype for Takamaru, and then we got that pick of the day where he was just an assist trophy. So then people got really upset about that, but now we're getting him as a Mii costume, so there's that. And the same thing goes with Ashley. I think a lot of people really wanted Ashley from WarioWare, and then she got in as an assist trophy. People were upset by that, but we're getting her as a Mii costume. So it feels like this time around, for this final wave of the Mii costumes, we're getting more of the characters that Sakurai knows people wanted, but just couldn't put in as playable for one reason or another. So he's hoping that this will kind of compensate for that. So I hope if you're an Ashley or Takamaru supporter that you'll download the costume, you'll like it. Yeah, it'll satisfy you for now, but it's just whatever. We got Sonic costumes. I was kind of hoping we'd get Sonic costumes. We got a lot of Mega Man ones. Didn't really get Pac-Man ones, but what could you really do for Namco costumes? Well, actually, I think there was Lloyd Irving, so never mind. But yeah, we hadn't really gotten any Sonic costumes yet. The Knuckles one kind of frightens me because if you use a tall me, he kind of looks like Sonic Boom Knuckles, but it's fine. You know, I'm just glad to finally have Sonic costumes. And then, of course, we have the big one. We are getting Geno, but he's a Mii costume. And a lot of people are really upset by this. A lot of people are kind of insulted in that you came so close to getting your character, but not quite, so we're just going to make him a Mii costume instead. But for me personally, I'm perfectly okay with this. I will take this costume because this is at least some acknowledgement of the Geno fans. This is at least some acknowledgement of people wanting Geno. We might not ever get Geno, but at least, you know, Sakura is willing to throw us a bone and say, here's a costume for you. So, and I actually think it kind of works with Mii Gunner, because playing Mario RPG, Geno did have a lot of like projectiles he shoots out of his arms, so it actually almost kind of fits. I feel like this is one of the more fitting Mii costumes for a character. So, of course, the Mii doesn't look 100% authentic to the actual character, but it's pretty damn close. It's close enough that I accept it for what it is. So, at this point, I don't really know if I'll ever really want Geno. I mean, I would like to see him in the game, but I was already growing indifferent towards him before the costume, and now that we got the costume, it's something, and it's kind of enough for me. So, I'd be okay if he still got in somehow by some miracle, but at least we can say we came this far where we got a Mii costume. I still don't know if Mii costumes deconfirm characters, if this means those characters will never be in Smash. All we know at this point is that this means those characters are not going to be playable in Smash 4. That's pretty much all we know at this point. I don't think it means that they won't be in Smash 5 either. We don't even know if Miis are going to return in Smash 5 and they're going to be Mii costumes. Or, who knows, maybe this is just kind of foreshadowing. Maybe these are hints that these are characters that could become playable in Smash 5. We really don't know. We don't even know what Smash 5 is at this point. It doesn't even really exist at this moment. So, but yeah, I like the Sonic costumes. I'm really hyped for the Geno costume. I love that. I understand if you want Geno and you don't want a Mii costume, if that's not good enough for you, I understand that. But for me personally, I'm willing to accept this. I'm willing. I will take this, and I'm pretty happy with it. So, it is what it is. Okay, and then we got the final character reveal, and it's Bayonetta. Wow, I don't even know where to begin with this one. It's so funny because I think I even talked about this a little bit in the discussion video before the presentation came out. It's like I didn't know what to expect going into this, because if they put in characters that we were all wanting, I would have been happy, but I wouldn't have really been surprised because we knew they were getting in. Like, if we had gotten Inklings or King K. Rool or something, I would have been happy we got them, but I wouldn't have been surprised because we were kind of expecting them to get in. But with Bayonetta, she's a character I wouldn't have minded seeing in Smash. I would have kind of liked to see her in Smash, but I never in a million years would have thought she would have ever actually made it into the game. So it's kind of like Sakurai continues to throw us curveballs. He continues to throw us characters that there is a little bit of talk about, but not really. Like, there are characters that are talked about way more, and then this character kind of gets pushed off to the side and kind of forgotten about. And then he puts in that character just because nobody was expecting it. So I just love how, in the end, I kind of got the surprise I wanted. And it was a pleasant surprise, because I do like Bayonetta. I have played the original Bayonetta. I've played a little bit of Bayonetta 2, but I haven't quite finished it yet. Now there's no excuse for me to not finish it, but for me personally, I'm okay with Bayonetta. I like her as a character, and I did say that I'd be okay with her inclusion. I said that to myself, at least, that I would like to see her in Smash. I just didn't see it happening, but apparently it's happening, so I'm pretty okay with it. I will applaud them for how they executed her character. There was a lot of talk about if she was, too sexual for Smash, if she was too, too mature of a character with her guns and everything. But apparently that's not really an issue. I looked back at the demonstration of her moves and everything, and like when she does the Wicked Weaves thing when her clothes disappear, they strip her down a little bit, but they still censor, the parts that would need to be censored, the parts of her that would need to be censored. So she does still have a little bit of clothing on when she's using those attacks, so it's not like they completely neuter her. She's still true to her character a little bit, but they didn't go all out to the point where the game wouldn't even be appropriate anymore to have her in. So I think they went about it the best possible way, so I have to give them props for that. They executed her in a way that is still pretty faithful to who she is as a character in her own games, but is still acceptable for a game like Smash Brothers, a game that appeals to a wide range of people in age and everything. So, little kids can still play as her, but they're not seeing things they shouldn't be seeing at their age. So I liked it. I think that's kind of what I'd come to expect from Sakurai, that he would, be able to handle a character in such a way that is still faithful but is still reasonable. So, but I'm still surprised, just like everyone else. I'm surprised that apparently she's the ballot winner. I guess that's the next thing to talk about, is the ballot. I'm surprised they even gave us any sort of results about this. I was starting to think that they gave us so little information when it was announced. They gave us so little information through the time it was running that I was almost under the impression that they weren't going to show us who the ballot winner was, or they weren't even going to mention the ballot. But they actually did. Sakurai actually came out and said that she was number one in Europe, and then in the top 5 of the US. And I can understand how people are a little skeptical about that, because I definitely agree that there was some talk of Bayonetta, there was some support behind her, but there wasn't anywhere near as much as there was for characters like King K. Rool, like Shovel Knight, like Shantae. And so it is pretty baffling that Sakurai's claiming that she had that much support to win the ballot. But here's where I think, here's something I think people need to understand, is that she was top 5 in the US, but she wasn't number 1 in the US, first of all. They just said she was number 1 in Europe, which that's still kind of surprising, but she was only in the top 5 in the US. But you also have to realize that they mentioned of realizable characters. Now, we have no idea what that means. That could mean literally anything. Maybe that means that the other top 4 characters for the US were the joke characters like SpongeBob, Goku, Shrek. Maybe those characters got that much support that they were like in the top ranks for the US, but obviously they weren't realizable. Obviously Sakurai was not going to do those characters. They weren't going to work. So maybe realizable means that he just moved down the list, and then Bayonetta just happened to be the next character that showed up, and then he said, okay, we can make that work. Or maybe it had nothing to do with the joke characters. Maybe realizable means that the characters that did beat her out couldn't be put in for one reason or another. Maybe Snake got really high up in the ranks there. Maybe Snake was number 1, but maybe they couldn't put him in because obviously there's a lot of controversy right now with Konami and Kojima. So it kind of makes sense that if Snake really did score that well in the ballot, that they couldn't put him in because there was a lot of licensing issues. Same thing could go for Banjo, but maybe to a lesser extent, because Microsoft seemed pretty open to the idea of putting Banjo in. But I think we need to keep that in mind. We need to really pay attention to that phrase there, of the realizable characters, that maybe some of the characters we wanted really did better than Bayonetta, but they just weren't realizable, so he just moved down the list, and Bayonetta just happened to be the first character that was realizable. So, but we don't have a definition of what realizable means in this context, so it's kind of dumb to be trying to make up theories for what that could mean when we don't know. Listen, I understand you guys are frustrated that you didn't get the character you wanted. I wanted Inklings, didn't get that, but I move on. It's not the end of the world. Didn't kill me. I'm still alive, so I move on from that. And I do like Bayonetta, so I live with that. But you guys have to remember that at the end of the day, this is just a video game. There's no reason for all of the politics behind it. There's no reason to get so up in arms about a character in a video game, and an optional one at that. You don't have to get her if you don't want her. If you like her, buy her, enjoy her. If you don't, then you just don't have to waste money on her. But I do understand how you guys feel for the people who really thought King K. Rool was going to make it in because he had a lot of support behind him. Same goes for Shovel Knight and Shantae. I understand your disappointment, but the reason I'm kind of coming down hard on this is because I don't think it's okay that you guys are that you guys are attacking Sakurai over this. That you guys are accusing him of lying. That's not okay. Because what would Sakurai have to gain from lying about this? Why? And how can you make these accusations when you have no proof that he could be doing this? We have literally nothing to back up the argument that he could have been lying about this. We have literally nothing. So there's no point in trying to make this claim when we have nothing to back it up by. We don't know the full context of what went on when they were deciding characters for the ballot. We don't know what the process was for actually looking at the votes and actually looking at the characters and deciding who gets picked. We don't know. We probably never will know because Nintendo probably thinks at this point we gave them the ballot winner. We don't need to say anything more about it. The ballot's over. Move on. So maybe it's for the best that we do move on. And I understand that there are people who might not be accusing Sakurai of lying, but they might just be curious to know who the other characters were, how their character actually did. And I kind of feel that way too. I'm kind of curious to see what happened that I thought for sure Inkling was going to be in, but obviously that didn't happen, so I won't lie. I'm a little bit curious as to why Inklings didn't get in. But the thing about that is maybe this is a case of we're better off just not knowing, because people are really up in arms right now. They're really upset. They're not thinking as logically as I think they can be. So I think this might be, at this moment, a case of we're better off just not knowing the truth, because if Sakurai came out and gave us a reason for why King K. Rool couldn't get in, I think people would just be so upset that he's not put in that they would be trying to pick apart his argument and trying to find any signs of hypocrisy or bias, and they wouldn't accept it. So even if Sakurai gave us a reason for why your character didn't get in, I think there are people out there who would just be so mad that he didn't get in that they wouldn't even care what the reason is. They'd still be upset. They'd still be arguing that he should have been in. And so in that case, knowing the truth really wouldn't do anything. In fact, it would almost make things worse because you would just be arguing even more. So maybe it's just better off that we just don't know how the other characters did. And they did say that they were going to be using the ballot results not just for Smash 4 DLC, but also for future Smash games. So maybe they're still saving those characters for consideration. Maybe when Smash 5 comes around, they'll pull out the ballot results again, and they'll go back to these characters, and they'll reconsider them. They'll see what they can do differently next time around. But my point here is really just, we need to calm down about this. At the end of the day, Bayonetta won. There's nothing we can do about it. If you really want to argue, if you really want to call foul on this and claim there's no way Bayonetta won, that Sakurai must be lying to us, go right ahead. But what proof do you have that Sakurai might be lying about this? What would he have to gain from lying about this? And Nintendo has the data for the ballot. We don't. And it's up to them if they want to release it or not. And they probably won't. They don't really have much of a reason to. They just told us who was number one, they told us who we're getting, and then they're going to work on that character and finish them and then release it. They're probably, as far as they're concerned, they're probably done. So I just think it's kind of pointless for us to be so up in arms about this when it's over. It's good game. It's over. We know who the character won. Better luck next time to the characters who didn't win. If people want to be salty, let them be salty. But I kind of saw this coming a little bit. People were going to be salty no matter who won. Even if it had been like King K. Rool or Shovel Knight or Shantae or something, people still would have been salty because the character they wanted didn't win. There was going to be salt and disappointment no matter what. So I just think it was inevitable. But even if it hadn't been Bayonetta, if it had been someone that I didn't really care for, I would still, in the end, just be saying congratulations to those fans who wanted the character, because we might not know how the other characters did, how the competition kind of went, and how Bayonetta was chosen, but at the end of the day, Bayonetta was chosen. Bayonetta was chosen as the winner, so to the Bayonetta fans, I say congratulations. You got the character you wanted. I don't know how many of you there are. I don't know how much influence your vote really had. Apparently it had quite a lot of influence, especially in Europe, but you know, I'm sorry to the King K. Rool fans, to the fans out there of all the characters that really had a lot of push behind them that didn't make it. I'm sorry, but you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles. You know, that we didn't know that there was no confirmation that there was going to be more than one winner, and so in the end it just turned out there was just one character that was coming from it, at least for Smash 4, and so there was going to be winners and losers. I don't even want to go into whether or not the Smash ballot was actually kind of a ballot or a suggestion box. I really don't want to go into that. There's arguments for both sides of that, but yeah, just I hope that you take away from this that Bayonetta's in the game. We just kind of have to live with that. If you like her, get her. If you don't get her. You don't have to put up with her then. Don't buy her. But it really is pointless to be calling foul at Sakurai and to be coming up with these conspiracy theories for how the ballot went when we don't know the full story. We don't know what went on behind the scenes, and we probably never will know. So I think it's just a case of we're better off just not knowing the truth, because I think that would only do more harm than good. And regardless of who won, even if it hadn't been Bayonetta, there was going to be salt regardless of who won, because not all the characters that were ever advocated for the ballot were going to get in all at once. There was just no way. So it is what it is. And so that was the end of the broadcast, and with that, we got kind of a really heartfelt send-off. You know, Sakurai was detailing the exact numbers for how many characters, how many stages, trophies, music, all that good stuff, and it really is just astounding to see how big Smash Wii U and 3DS turned out to be, to see how much content there was. There's more content in these games than I ever thought there would be. I expected a lot, but I expected that there would be more substantial, there would be more content than there was in Brawl, and in the end, there was more than I could have ever imagined. The character roster ended up being so much bigger than I thought it would be. I remember the days when Sakurai said that in really early interviews, that the roster wasn't going to be that much bigger than Brawl, and that we shouldn't expect a lot of new additions. And now look at us, we're sitting at 58 characters. That is just insane. And it's just really crazy to think how much time was put into each and every single character. And you really have to applaud the developers for putting so much time and effort into this game, for making each of these characters as special and unique as they are. Regardless of whether or not you like the character, regardless of whether or not you agree with their inclusion, you have to admit, you have to, you know, appreciate that how many man hours it must have took to put these characters together, to, you know, not only make sure their models animated properly, you know, did everything they were supposed to do, the voice work, all the hitbox and everything. I'm sure all that stuff took time, and they did that for 58 characters. That is just downright impressive to me. And that's just characters. That's not even mentioning how much time it must have taken to put together all of the other modes, compose the music, put together the stages, just everything. These games are absolutely massive, and I love that so much. The words just can't even begin to express how much I appreciate these games, how much I love these games for what they turned out to be in the end. That's not to say that I'm blind and that I think these games are perfect. They are not perfect. There are definitely things in there that I don't like. Like, obviously, I don't like Smash Tour. Obviously, I am a little disappointed that there was no sort of story mode. That I wasn't expecting like a subspace emissary or anything. At the very minimum, I was thinking that there was going to be maybe something a little more like Melee's, but there wasn't even that, so it's a little disheartening. And I had mentioned in the previous little discussion that I was thinking that there was going to be a big new mode revealed, and obviously that didn't happen. So, but you know what? I don't really I don't feel disappointed by that. I feel like there was so much content in this game that it was definitely worth the price. Smash Wii U was definitely worth $60 for me, just from the base game alone, even not even including the DLC. But it really is kind of depressing, that feeling how after a holiday, like after Christmas, the day after Christmas, you feel kind of depressed because it's all over. Christmas isn't coming again for another 365 days, and it's a little bit depressing, a little bit bittersweet, and that's just kind of how I feel right now. Like, even after the game released, when we were getting DLC characters, it felt like Christmas for the Smash fans because we were constantly getting updates and constantly getting new content on the horizon, and now that's over. So you just kind of don't really know what to do with your time, and it leaves you feeling a little bit empty. So all we really have left, aside from Corran and Bayonetta coming in February along with the other Mii costumes, is just enjoying Cloud and just enjoying the game for what it is right now. And even after those characters are out, we just have to enjoy the game. I certainly will. I mean, I think this is probably my favorite Smash Brothers game. It improved pretty much all. It addressed all of my complaints I had with Brawl. It got rid of tripping, fixed the gravity a little bit, made it a little more a bit quicker. The online is a bit better. It still has its problems, but it's at least works. Unlike Brawl, I can actually complete a couple matches every now and then, so I can't really complain about that. I got the GameCube controller. That still blows my mind that they actually went the extra mile to put in the adapter and to put in GameCube controller functionality. So I'm extremely thankful for that. So I don't know about any of you guys, but for me personally, I got pretty much everything I wanted from this Smash game and more. This game definitely lived up to my expectations. I do have some criticisms with it. I do have some gripes with it. The games are not perfect, but they're pretty damn close to being perfect, and that's good enough for me at the end of the day. I think Smash Wii U will probably go down as one of my favorite games of all time, just because I can always go back to it and play it. There's always fun to be had. There's no two matches are ever the same. There's always going to be something funny or something shocking or something awesome to discover when you play the game, at least for me. So, that just makes it all the more depressing to know that the support for the game is ending. So, and I just kind of looking towards the future. Do you guys think there's gonna be a Smash 5? I personally think there probably will be. I think Smash Brothers is still extremely profitable for Nintendo. I think they'd be kind of crazy not to do another one in like anywhere from 5 to 7 years. But the thing is, Smash Wii U and 3DS are only like a year old, so it's way too early to be talking about this. But it might still be okay to kind of talk about it just for fun, because we have no idea if there's going to be a Smash Brothers on the NX. We have no idea. There has always been a Smash Brothers game on the home consoles since the N64, so there's not really much reason to believe that there won't be one for the NX. But maybe it might be too early, because the thing with I think it might have something to do with the Wii U. The Wii U was not a success by any stretch of the imagination. It was a failure. It was probably one of Nintendo's biggest bombs. So its console generation was kind of cut short. Its lifespan was kind of cut short because of that. Because all of the developers were jumping ship to the new hardware because they just couldn't work with the hardware for the Wii U. So the NX might be coming a bit earlier than Nintendo was anticipating. So does that mean that just because the NX is coming earlier, we should get another Smash Brothers earlier? I personally don't think so. I'm so happy with Smash Wii U that I'd feel kind of irritated if there was another one already. I think it's way too early for that, and I think if anything, when the NX comes out, I think at best we could expect, a port of Smash Wii U, like an Ultimate Edition that has all the content, all the DLC content put into the game, maybe even putting in like the 3DS stages and Smash Run into this version, and then maybe putting in I don't know, like another character or something. But I think for the NX, it would seem pretty likely that we could get some kind of Ultimate Edition. I'm not necessarily saying I'd want an Ultimate Edition, but it's something. I just think it'd be too early to expect Smash 5 on the NX, because the NX is coming so much faster because the Wii U, the Wii U just had to leave so quickly. So I don't know if Sakurai would be involved in Smash 5 or not. Part of me really hopes he wouldn't be, because he's worked so damn hard on these games. He has earned like a year-long vacation, him and all the developers who worked on this game. So for the sake of his health, I kind of hope he doesn't come back for Smash 5, just because he really does not need to put himself through so much suffering again. But I understand his confliction with having to leave Smash Brothers, because the game is his baby. You know, he gave this idea life, and I can understand his hesitation to let it go and to let it, to give over the reins to someone else who might not treat it with as much love and as much respect, and might not understand what makes it as special the way Sakurai understands it to be. So, but I just think for the sake of his health, it might be time for him to move on, or at least just take a really long break from it. So I don't know how I'd feel about Smash 5 being under a new director, but it could go anywhere. You know, maybe we could get a director that would listen to the fans more closely, try to cater to the hardcore Smash players a little bit more, or and maybe they'd start adding in more specifically characters that the fans are wanting, like all the characters that were on the ballot would be the characters that come into Smash 5. Or on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we could get someone horrible. We could get someone who doesn't appreciate or doesn't understand what makes Smash Brothers so good. They completely butcher the gameplay. They give us nothing of what we want, and it could just turn out to be a terrible thing, and Smash Brothers goes out on a horrible note. I'm really hoping that's not the case. I really don't think it would be that bad, but it's still possible, because we just don't know. We've had Sakurai directing Smash Brothers since the beginning, and if he actually does leave and doesn't come back to Smash Brothers, then it would be there'd be no way to say for sure how things would turn out. So I don't know. I still feel like it's way too early to be talking about this. I can understand some people kind of wanting to talk about it, though, because for some people, especially the ones that didn't get their character, they just kind of feel like they don't have anything left to look forward to besides speculating for the inevitable Smash 5, because you know, there are people there that didn't get their wolf, they didn't get their ice climbers, they didn't get this or that. So, and that's not to say like they're complaining about it, they're just, you know, a little disheartened. And I completely understand how that feels. You guys know I understand how that feels, because I went through the same thing. So to all of you supporters of Wolf, of Ice Climbers, of Snake, of characters that didn't come back, or characters that didn't get in, I'm sorry. I truly am sorry that they didn't get in, because I understand that disappointment. But you know, to look on the bright side, maybe I will pass on the torch to the Wolf advocators. Maybe Wolf will become the new Mewtwo, and you guys will make videos and speculate and really push for him to get in, and then maybe he will come back. So, you know, just trying to make light of the situation a little bit, trying to brighten the mood a little bit. But yeah, I just hope that despite all of the salt, despite all the controversy, despite how much people want to argue this or that at the end of the day, we just remember that this is a video game, and that it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something that we can all appreciate, and to look at it and say, wow, look at how far Nintendo has come as a company. Look at all the history. Look at all the characters and all the franchises that have come together and made Nintendo what it is. And that we can just play the game for what it is, play as the characters that are in the game and enjoy them, and just have a good time. Because that's what it's supposed to be. That's what Sakurai really wanted the game to be. He wanted it to be fun, and for us to really enjoy it for what it is. So that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know about anybody else, but that's what I personally am gonna do. I am gonna just keep playing Smash Wii U, even though it's only a year old. We still got plenty of time to play it, so I'm gonna keep, having a good time, laughing, raging, getting salty, because that's just what Smash Brothers is. It's supposed to be fun, and at the end of the day, that's what it is for me. It's fun. It's a video game, and I play video games to have fun. So, regardless of whether or not there's going to be a Smash 5, regardless of how far away it is, I love Smash Wii U and 3DS. I love these games. I want to say thank you to Sakurai and everybody on the development team. You guys did such a great job with these games. I may not always agree with your character choices and everything, but that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I love your games and I will pay money to play them because I love Smash Brothers. I'm crazy about it. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. It's been one hell of a ride. I've had a great time with this, and it's a little bit sad to say that this is the end and that it's time to move on to other things, but Smash Wii U is a great game, so I'll keep playing it. I'll keep having fun with it. So, what is your take on all of this? What do you guys have to say about this? Leave your thoughts. Let's get the last of it out here. So, not really so much speculation, but just kind of leave your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the games overall now that we've seen everything that they have to show us? What are your memories of speculation? Just kind of go all out. Have fun with it. So, because that's what we're supposed to be doing here, is just having some fun. Okay. This is pretty much all I have to say, so I'm going to go ahead and end it off here. This has been Brawlmaster012, signing off.
Titan!